Learn to love to read. Specific recommendations for books, blogs, and more are in Naval's recommended reading section. The genuine love for reading itself, when incultivated, is a superpower. We live in the age of Alexandria, when every book and every piece of knowledge ever written down is a fingertip away. The means of learning are abundant. It's the desire to learn that is scarce. Reading was my first love. I remember my grandparents' house in India. I'd be a little kid on the floor going through all of my grandfather's Reader's Digests, which is all he had to read. Now, of course, there's a smorgasbord of information out there. Anybody can read anything all the time. Back then, it was much more limited. I would read comic books, storybooks, whatever I could get my hands on. I think I always loved to read because I'm actually an antisocial introvert. I was lost in the world of words and ideas from an early age. I think some of it comes from the happy circumstance when I was young. Nobody forced me to read certain things. I think there's a tendency among parents and teachers to say, "Oh, you should read this, but don't read that." I read a lot which, by today's standards, would be considered mental junk food. Read what you love until you love to read. You almost have to read the stuff you're reading because you're into it. You don't need any other reason. There's no mission here to accomplish. Just read because you enjoy it. These days I find myself rereading as much or more as I do reading. A tweet from at Elacertus said, "I don't want to read everything. I just want to read the 100 great books over and over again." I think there's a lot to that idea. It's really more about identifying the great books for you because different books speaks to different people. Then you can really absorb those. Reading a book isn't a race. The better the book, the more slowly it should be absorbed. I don't know about you, but I have very poor attention. I skim, I speed read, I jump around. I could not tell you specific passages or quotes from books. At some deep level, you absorb them, and they become threads in the tapestry of your physique. They kind of weave in there. I'm sure you have this feeling where you picked up a book and started reading it, and you're like, "This is pretty interesting. This is pretty good." And you're getting increasing sense of deja vu. Then, halfway through the book, you realized, "I've read this book before." That's perfectly fine. It means you were ready to reread it. I don't actually read a lot of books. I pick up a lot of books, and only get through a few which form the foundations of my knowledge. The reality is, I don't read much compared to what people think. I probably read 1 or 2 hours a day. That puts me in the top 0.00001%. I think that alone accounts for any material success I've had in my life. and any intelligence I might have. Real people, real people don't read an hour a day. Real people, I think, read a minute a day or less. Making it an actual habit is the most important thing. It almost doesn't matter what you read. Eventually, you'll read enough things, and your interests will lead you there. That will dramatically improve your life, just like the best workout for you is one you're excited enough to do every day. I would say for books, blogs, tweets, or whatever, anything with ideas and information and learning is the best ones to read, are the ones you're excited about reading all the time. As long as I have a book in my hand, I don't feel like I'm wasting time. Charlie Munger. Everyone's brain works differently. Some people love to take notes. Actually, my note-taking is Twitter. I read and read and read. If I have some fundamental ha-ha insight or concept, Twitter forces me to distill it into a few characters. Then I try and put it out there as an aphorism. Then I get attacked by random people who point out all kinds of obvious exceptions and jump down my throat. Then I think, why did I do this again? Pointing out obvious exceptions implies either the target isn't smart or you aren't. When you first pick up a book, are you skimming for something interesting? How do you go about reading it? Do you just flip to a random page and start reading? What's your process? I'll start at the beginning, but I'll move fast. If it's not interesting, I'll just start flipping ahead, skimming or speed reading. If it doesn't grab my attention within the first chapter in a meaningful, positive way, I'll either drop the book or skip ahead a few chapters. I don't believe in delayed gratification when there are an infinite amount of books out there to read. There are so many great books. The number of books completed in a vanity metric. As you know more, you leave more books unfinished. Focus on new concepts with predictive power. Generally, I skim. I'll fast forward. I'll try and find a part to catch my attention. Most books have one point to make. Obviously, this is non-fiction, but not I'm not talking about fiction. They have one point to make. They make it, and then they give you example after example after example after example, and they apply it to explain everything in the world. Once I feel like I've gotten the grist, I feel very comfortable putting the book down. There's a lot of these, what I call pseudoscience bestsellers. People are like, "Oh, did you read this book?" I always says, "Yes." But the reality is, I read maybe 2 chapters of it. I got the gist. If they wrote it to make money, I don't read it. What practices do you follow to internalize or organize information from reading books? Explain what you learned to someone else. Teaching forces learning. It's not about educated versus uneducated. It's about likes to read and doesn't like to read. What I can do for the next 60 What can I do for the next 60 days to become a clearer and more independent thinker? Read the greats in math, science, and philosophy. Ignore your contemporary and news. Avoid tribal identification. Put truth above social approval. Study logic and maths, because once you've mastered them, you won't fear any book. No books in the library should scare you, whether it's a math, physics, electrical engineering, sociology, or economics book. You should be able to take any book down off the shelf and read it. A number of them are going to be too difficult for you. That's okay, read them anyway. Then go back and reread them and reread them. When you're reading a book and you're confused, that confusion is similar to the pain you get in the gym when you're working out. But you're building mental muscles instead of physical muscles. Learn how to learn and read the books. The problem with saying just read is there is so much junk out there. There are as many different kinds of authors as there are people. Many of them are going to write lots of junk. I have people in my life I consider to be very well read who aren't very smart. The reason is because even though they are very well read, they read the wrong things in the wrong order. They start out reading a set of false or just weakly true things, and those formed an axioms of the foundations for their worldview. Then, when the things come, they judge the new idea based on a foundation they already built. Your foundation is critical, because most people are intimidated by maths and can't independently critique it. They overvalue opinions backed in maths or pseudoscience. When it comes to reading, make sure your foundations is very, very high quality. The best way to have a high quality foundation, you may not love this answer, but the trick is to stick to science and to stick to the basics. Generally, there are only a few things you can read people don't disagree with. Very few people disagree with 2 plus 2 is 4, right? That's a serious knowledge. Mathematics is a solid foundation. Similarly, the hard sciences are a solid foundation. Microeconomics is a solid foundation. The moment you start wandering outside of these solid foundations, you're in trouble, because now you don't know what's true and what's false. I would focus as much as I could on having solid foundations. It's better to be really great at arithmetic and geometry than to be deep into advanced mathematics. I would read microeconomics all day long. Microeconomics 101. Another way to do this is to read originals and read classics. If you're interested in evolution, read Charles Darwin. Don't begin with Richard Dawkins. Even though I think he's great, read him later. Read Darwin first. If you want to learn microeconomics, First read Adam Smith, read von Mises, or read Hayek. Start with the original philosophers of the economy. If you're into communist or socialist idea, which I'm personally not, start by reading Karl Marx. Don't read the current interpretation someone's feeding you about how things should be done and run. If you start with the originals as your foundation, then you have enough of a worldview and understanding that you won't fear any book. Then you can just learn them. If you're a perpetual learning machine, you will never be out of options for how to make money. You can always see what's coming up in society, what the value is, where the demand is, and you can learn to come to speed. To think clearly, understand the basics. If you're memorizing advanced concepts without being able to derive them as needed, you're lost. We're now in a age of Twitter and Facebook. We're getting bite-sized, pithy wisdom, which is really hard to absorb. Books are very difficult to read as a modern person because we've been trained. We have two contradictory pieces of training. One is our attention span has gone through the floor because we're hit with so much information all the time. We want to skip, summarize, and cut to the chase. Twitter has made me a worse reader, but a much better writer. On the other hand, we're also taught from a young age to finish your books. Books are scarce. When you go to school and you're assigned to read a book, you have to finish the book. Over time, we forgot how to read books. Everyone I know is stuck on some book. I'm sure you're stuck on something right now. It's page 332. You can't go any further, but you know you should finish the book. So what do? You give up reading books for a while. For me, giving up reading was a tragedy. I grew up on books. When I switched to blogs, then I switched to Twitter and Facebook. Then I realized I wasn't actually learning anything. I was just taking little dopamine snacks all day long. I was getting my little 140 character bursts of dopamine. I would tweet, then I look to see who returned my tweet. It's a fun and wonderful thing, but it's a game I was playing. I realized I had to go back to reading books. I knew it was a very hard problem because my brain had now been trained to spend time on Facebook, Twitter, and these other bite-sized pieces. I came up with this hack where I started treating books as throwaway blogs posts or bite-sized tweets or posts. I felt no obligation to finish any book. Now, when someone mentions a book to me, I buy it. At any given time, I'm reading somewhere between 10 and 20 books. I'm flipping through them. If the book is getting a little boring, I'll skip ahead. Sometimes I'll start reading a book in the middle because some paragraph caught my eye. I'll just continue from there, and I feel no obligation whatsoever to finish the book. All of a sudden, books are back to my reading library. That's great because there is ancient wisdom in books. When solving problems, the older the problem, the older the solution. If you're trying to learn how to drive a car or fly a plane, you should read something written in the modern age because this problem was created in the modern age, and the solution is great in the modern age. If you're talking about an old problem like how to keep your body healthy, how to stay calm and peaceful, what kinds of value systems are good, how to raise a family, and those kinds of things, the older the solutions are probably better. Any books that survived for 2,000 years have been filtered through many people. The general principles are more likely to be correct. I want to get back into reading these sorts of books. You know that song you can't get out of your head? All, all thoughts work that way. Careful what you read. Happiness. There are three big ones in life: wealth, health, and happiness. We pursue them in that order, but their importance is in reverse. Learning happiness. Don't take yourself so seriously. You're just a monkey with a plan. Happiness is learned. 10 years ago, you would have asked me how happy I was. I would have dismissed the question. I didn't want to talk about it. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would have said 2 or 3 out of 10. Maybe 4 on my best days, but I did not value being happy. Today, I'm a 9 out of 10. And yes, having money helps, but it's actually a very small piece of it. Most of it comes from learning over the years. My own happiness is the most important thing to me, and I've cultivated it with a lot of techniques. Maybe happiness is not something you inherit or even choose, but a highly personal skill that can be learned, like fitness or nutrition. Happiness is a very evolving thing, I think. Like all the great questions when you're a little kid, you go to your mom and ask, "What happens when we die? Is there a Santa Claus? Is there a God? Should I be happy? Who should I marry?" Those kind of things. There are no glib answers because no answers apply to everybody. These kinds of questions ultimately do have answers, but they have personal answers. The answer that works for me is going to be nonsense to you, and vice versa. Whatever happens means to me, it means something different to you. I think it's very important to explore what these definitions are. For some people I know, it's a flow state. For some people, it's satisfaction. For some people, it's a feeling of contentment. My definition keeps evolving. The answer I would have given you a year ago would be different than what I tell you now. Today, I believe happiness is a really default state. Happiness is there when you remove the sense of something missing in your life. We're highly judgmental survival and replication machines. We consistently walk around thinking, "I need this" or "I need that," trapped in the web of desires. Happiness is the state when nothing is missing. When nothing is missing, your mind shuts down and stops running into the past or future to regret something or to plan something. In that absence, for a moment, you have internal silence. When you have internal silence, then you're content and you are happy. Feel free to disagree. Again, it's different for everybody. People mistakenly believe happiness is just about positive thoughts and positive actions. The more I've read, the more I've learned, and the more I've experienced, because I verify this for myself. Every position, though, though essentially holds within it a negative thought. It is a contrast in something negative. The Tao Te Ching says this more accurately than I ever could, but it's all dual, dually, duality, and polarity. If I'm happy, that means I was sad at some point. If I say he's attractive, then somebody else is unattractive. Every every positive thought even has a seed of a negative thought within it, and vice versa. This is why a lot of greatness in life comes out of suffering. You have to view the negative before you can aspire and appreciate the positive. To me, happiness is not about positive thoughts. It's not about negative thoughts. It's about the absence of desire, especially the absence of desire for external things. The fewer desires I have now, the more I can accept the current state of things. The less my mind is moving because the mind really exists in the motion towards the future or the past. The more present I am, the happier and more content I will be. If I latch onto a feeling, if I say, "Oh, I'm happy now," and I want to stay happy, then I'm going to drop out of that happiness. Now suddenly, the mind is moving. It's trying to attach to something. It's trying to create a permanent situation out of temporary situation. Happiness, to me, is mainly not suffering, not desiring, not thinking too much about the future or the past. Really embracing the present moment and the reality of what is and the way it is. If you ever want to have peace in your life, you have to move beyond good and evil. Nature has no concept of happiness or unhappiness. Nature allows Nature follows unbroken mathematical laws and chains of causes that affect from the Big Bang to now. Everything is perfect exactly the way it is. It is only in our particular minds we are unhappy or not happy, and the things are perfect or imperfect because of what we desire. The world just reflects your own feeling back at you. Reality is neutral. Reality has no judgments. To a tree, there's no concept of right or wrong, good or bad. You're born. You have a whole set of sensory experiences and simulations, lights, colors, and sounds. When you die, how do you choose? How do you choose to interpret them is up to you. You have that choice. This is what I mean when I say happiness is a choice. If you believe it's a choice, you can start working on it. There are no external forces affecting your emotions, as much as they may feel that way. I've also come to believe in the complete and utter insignificance of the self. I think that helps a lot. For example, if you thought you were the most important thing in the universe, then you would have to bend the entire universe to your will. If you are the most important thing in the universe, then how could it be not confirm your desires? If it doesn't conform to your desires, something's wrong. However, if you view yourself as a bacteria or an amoeba, you, or if you view all your works as writing on water or building castles in the sand, then you have no expectation for how life should actually be. Life is just the way it is. Then you accept that. When you accept that, you have no cause to be happy or unhappy. Those things almost don't apply. Happiness is what there's Happiness is what's there when you remove the sense that something is missing in your life. What you are left with in the neutral state is not neutrality. I think people believe neutrality would be a very bland existence. No, this is the existence very child live. Little child, little children live. If you look at little children, on balance, they're generally pretty happy because they are really immersed and in the environment and the moment, without any thought of how it should be it should be given their personal preferences and desires. I think the neutral state is actually a perfection state. One can be very happy as long as one isn't too caught up in their own head. Our lives are in a blink of firefly in the night. You're just barely here. You have to make the most of every minute, which doesn't mean you choose some stupid desire for your entire life. What it means is every second you have on this planet is very pre- precious, and your responsibility is to make sure you're happy and interpreting everything in the best way possible. We think of ourselves as fixed, and the world is malleable, but who are it's really we who are malleable, and the world is largely fixed. Can practice meditation help you accept reality? Yes, but it's amazing how little it helps. You can be a long long time meditator, but if someone says the wrong thing in the wrong way, you go back to your ego driven self. It's almost like you're lifting 1 pound weights. But then somebody drops a huge barbell and with a stack of plates on your head. It's absolutely better than doing nothing. But when the actual moment of mental or emotional suffering arrives, it's still never easy. Real happiness only comes as a side effect of peace. Most of it is going to come from acceptance, not from changing your external environment. A rational person can find peace by cultivating indifference to the things outside of their control. I have lowered my identity. I have lowered the chattering of my mind. I don't care about I don't care about things that don't really matter. I don't get involved in politics. I don't hang around unhappy people. I really value myself. I really value my time on this earth. I read philosophy. I meditate. I hang around with happy people. And it works. You can very slowly but steadily, methodically improve your happiness baseline, just like you can improve your fitness. Happiness is a choice. Happiness, love, and passion aren't things you find, they're choices you make. Happiness is a choice you make and a skill you develop. The mind is just as malleable as the body. We spend so much time and effort trying to change the external world, other people, and our own bodies, while accepting ourselves the way we were programmed in our youths. We accept the voice in our head as the source of all truth, but all of it is malleable, and every day is new. Memory and identity are burdens from the past preventing us from living freely in the present. Happiness requires presence. At any given time, when you're walking down the streets, a very small percentage of your brain is focused on the present. The rest is planning the future or regretting the past. This keeps you from having an incredible experience. It's keeping you from seeing the beauty in everything and and for being grateful for who you are, for where you are. You can literally destroy your happiness if you spend all of your time living in delusions of the future. We crave experience that will make us present, but the cravings themselves take us from the present moment. I just don't believe in anything from the past. Anything. No memories, no regrets, no people, no trips, nothing. A lot of our unhappiness comes from comparing things from the past to the present. Anti-capitation for our vices pulled us into the future. Eliminating vices makes it easier to be present. There's a great definition, I read. Alignment is the space between our thoughts. It means alignment isn't something you achieve after 30 years of sitting on a mountaintop. It's something you can achieve moment to moment, and you can be enlightened to a certain present every single day. What if this life is the paradise and we were promised and we're just squandering it? Happiness requires peace. We are happiness, our happiness and purpose interconnected. Happiness is such an overloaded word. I'm not sure I'm not even sure what it means. For me these days, happiness is more about peace than it is about joy. I don't think peace and purpose go together. If it's your internal purpose, the thing you most want to do, then sure, you'll be happy doing it. But an externally inflicted purpose, like society wants me to do X, I'm the person, I'm the first son of the first son of this, so I should do Y. I have this debt or burden I took on. I don't think it'll make you happy. I think a lot of us have this low-level pervasive feeling of anxiety. If you pay attention to your mind, something you're running around. Sometimes you're just running around doing your things and you're not feeling great. And you notice your mind is chattering and chattering about something. Maybe you can't sit still. There's this nexting thing where you are sitting in one spot thinking about where you should be next. It's always the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing after that. The next thing after that, creating this pervasive anxiety. It's most obvious if you ever just sit down and do nothing. Nothing, I mean nothing. I mean not reading, not, I mean not read a book. I mean not listen to music. I mean literally just sitting down and do nothing. You can't do it because there's anxiety always trying to make you get up and go. Get up and go, get up and go. I think it's important just being aware the anxiety is making you unhappy. The anxiety is just a series of running thoughts. How I combat anxiety. I don't try and fight it. I just notice I'm anxious because of all these thoughts. I try to figure out, would I rather be having this thought right now, or would I rather have my peace? Because as long as I have my thoughts, I can't have my peace. You'll notice when I say happiness, I mean peace. When a lot of people say happiness, they mean joy or bliss. But I'll take peace. A happy a happy person isn't someone who's happy all the time. It's someone who effortlessly interprets events in such a way that they don't lose their innate peace. Every desire is a chosen unhappiness. I think the most common mistake for humanity is believing you're going to be you're going to be made happy because of some external circumstance. I know that's not original and it's not new. It's fundamental Buddhist wisdom. I'm not taking credit for it. I think I'm just recognizing it on a fundamental level, including myself. We brought a new car. Now I'm waiting for the new car to arrive. Of course, every night I'm on the forums reading about the car. Why? It's a silly object. It's a silly car. It's not going to change my life much or at all. I know the instant the car arrives, I won't care about it anymore. The thing is, I'm addicted to the desiring. I'm addicted to the idea of this external thing bringing me some kind of happiness and joy. And this is completely delusional. Looking outside yourself for anything is the fundamental delusion. Not to say you shouldn't be doing things on the outside. You absolutely should. You're a living creature. There are things you do, especially you locally reverse in in entropy. That's why you're here. You're meant to do something. You're not just meant to live there in the sand and meditate all day long. You should self-actualize. You should do what you're meant to do. The idea you're going to change something in the outside world, and that's going to bring you the peace, everlasting joy, and the happiness you desire. It's a fundamental delusion we all suffer from, including me. The mistakes over and over and over is to say, oh, I'll be happy when I get that thing. Whatever it is, that is the fundamental mistake we all make, 24/7, all day long. The fundamental delusion, there's something out there that will make me happy and fulfilled forever. Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy when you get what you want. I don't think most of us realize that what it is. I think we go about desiring things all day long and then wonder why we're unhappy. I like to stay aware of it because then I can choose my desires very carefully. I try not to have more than one big desire in my life at any given time. And it also recognizes it as the axis of my suffering. I realize the area where I've chosen to be unhappy. Desire is a contract to make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. One thing I've learned recently it was way more important to be perfect to your desires than try to do something you don't 100% desire. When you're young and wealthy, you can do more. By doing more, you're actually taking on more and more desires. You don't realize this slowly destroying your happiness. I find younger people are less happy but more healthy. Older people are more happy but less healthy. When you're young, you have time, you have health, but you have no money. When you're middle aged, you have money and you have health, but you have no time. When you're old, you have money and you have time, but you have no health. So the trifecta is to try and get all three at once. By the time people realize they have enough money, they're, they've lost their time and health. Success does not earn happiness. Happiness is being satisfied with what you have. Success comes from dissatisfaction. Choose. Confucius says you have two lives, and the second one begins when you realize you only have one. When and how did your second life begin? That's a very deep question. Most people who are past a certain age has this feeling or phenomenon. They've gone through they've gone through life a certain way and they gotten into a certain stage and had to make some pretty big changes. I'm definitely also in that boat. I struggled for a lot of my life to have certain material and social successes. When I achieved those material and social successes, or at least was beyond a point where they don't matter as much, I realized the people around me who had achieved similar successes and were on their way to achieving more didn't seem all that happy. In my case, there was definitely hedonic adaptation. I'd very quickly get used to anything. This led me to the conclusion, which seems trite, but happiness is the internal. That conclusion set me on a path of working more on my internal self and realizing the real success is internal and has very little to do with external circumstances. One has to do the external thing anyway. We're biologically hardwired. Hardwired. It's glib to say you can just turn it on. Your own life experience will bring you back the internal path. The problem with getting good at a game, especially one with big rewards, is you will continue playing it long after you should have outgrown it. Survival and replication drive put us on the work treadmill. Hedonic adaptation keeps us there. The trick is knowing when to jump off and play instead. Who do you think of as successful? Most people think of people as successful when they win a game. Whatever they play themselves, if you're an athlete, you're going to think of a top athlete. If you're in business, you might think Elon Musk. A few years ago, I would have said Steve Jobs, because he was part of the driving forces creating something that changed lives for all humanity. I think Mark Andreessen is successful, not because of his recent nation as a venture capitalist, but of his incredible work he did with Netscape. So Satoshi Nakamoto is successful in that he created Bitcoin, which is an incredible technology creation that will have repercussions for decades to come. Of course, Elon Musk, because he changed everyone's viewpoint on what is possible with the modern technology and interpreter, entrepreneurship. I consider those creators and commercializers successful. To me, the real winners are the one who set up out of the game entirely, who don't even play the game, who rise above it. Those are the people who have such internal mental and self-control and self-awareness. They need nothing from anybody else. They're just a couple of characters I know in my life. Jerzy Gregorek. I would consider him successful because he doesn't need anything from anybody. At his peace, he's wealthy, and whether he makes more money or less money compared to the next person has no effect on his mental state. Historically, I would say the legendary Buddha or Krishna Namuriti. Whose stuff I like reading. They are successful in the sense that they step out of the game entirely. Winning or losing doesn't matter to them. There's a line from Blaise Pascal I read. Basically, it says, all of man's troubles arise because he cannot sit in a room quietly by himself. If you could just sit there for 30 minutes and be happy, you're successful. That's a very powerful place to be, but very few of us get there. I think of happiness as an emergent property of peace. If you're peaceful inside and out, you will eventually result in happiness. But peace is a very hard thing to come by. The irony is the way most of us try to find peace is through war. When you start a business, in a way, you're going to war. When you struggle with your roommates as to who you should clean the dishes, you're going to war. If you're struggling so you can have some sense of security and peace later. In reality, peace is not a guarantee. It's always flowing. It's always changing. You want to learn the core skill set of flowing with life and accepting it in most cases. You can get almost anything you want out of life as long as it's one thing you want and you want it far more than anything else. In my own personal experience, the place I end up most is wanting to be at peace. Peace is happiness at rest, and happiness is peace in motion. You can convert peace into happiness anytime you want, but peace is what you want most of the time. If you're a peaceful person, anything you do will be a happy activity. Today, we think Today, the way we think you get peace is by resolving all your external problems. But there are unlimited external problems. The only way to actually get peace on the inside is by giving up this idea of problems. Envy is the enemy of happiness. I don't think life is that hard. I think we make it hard. One of the things I'm trying to get rid of is the word should. When I ever say the word should creeps up into your mind, it's guilt or social programming. Doing something because you should basically means you don't actually want to do it. It's just making you miserable. So I'm trying to eliminate as many shoulds from my life as possible. The enemy of peace of mind, the enemy of peace of mind is expectations drilled into you by society and other people. Socially, we're told, go work out, go look good. That's a multiplayer competitive game. Other people can see if I'm doing a good job or not. We're told, go make money, go buy a big house. Again, external multiplayer competitive game. Training yourself to be happy is completely internal. There are no external progress, no external validation. You're competing against yourself. It is a single player game. We're like bees or ants. We're having such social creatures. We are such social creatures. We're externally programmed and driven. We don't know how to play and win these single player games anymore. We complete purely in multiplayer games. The reality in life is a single player game. You're born alone, and you're going to die alone. All of your interpretations are alone. All your memories are alone. You're gone in 3 generations, and nobody cares. Before you showed up, nobody cared. It's all single player. Perhaps one reason why yoga and meditation are hard to sustain is why they have no external value, purely single player games. Buffett has a great example when he asks you if you want to be the world's best lover and known as the worst, or the world's worst lover known as the best. In, ref, in reference to an inner or external scorecard. Exactly right. All the real scorecards are internal. Jealousy was a very hard emotion for me to overcome. When I was young, I had a lot of jealousy. By and by, I learned to get rid. I learned to get rid of it. It still corps up every now and then. It's such a poisonous emotion because at the end of the day, you're no better off with jealousy. You're unhappier, and the person you're jealous of is still successful or good looking or whatever they are. One day, I realized with all these people I was jealous of, I couldn't just choose little aspects of their life. I couldn't say I want his body, I want her memory, I want his personality. You have to be that person. You don't want to be actually that person with all their reactions, their desires, their family, their happiness level, their outlook on life, their self-image. You're not willing to do a wholesale 24/7 100% swap with who that person is. Then there's no point in being jealous. Once I came that realization, jealousy faded away because I didn't want to be anybody else. I'm perfectly happy being me. By the way, even that is under my control, to be happy being me. It's just there are no social rewards for it. Happiness is built by habits. My My most surprising discovery in the last 5 years is that the peace and happiness are skills. These are not things you're born with. Yes, there is a genetic range, and a lot of it is conditioning from your environment. But you can uncondition and recondition yourself. You can increase your happiness over time, and it starts with believing you can do it. It's a skill, just like nutrition is a skill, dieting is a skill, working out is a skill, making money is a skill, meeting girls and guys is a skill, having good relationship is a skill, even love is a skill. It starts with realizing what it starts with realizing there are skills you can learn. When you put your intention and focus on it, the world can become a better place. Then working, surround yourself with people more successful than you. When playing, surround yourself with people happier than you. What type of skill is happiness? It's all trial and error. You just see what works and try sitting meditation. Did that you try sitting meditation? You try sitting meditation. Did that work for you? Well, it it was tantra meditation, or was it vipassana meditation? Was it a 10-day retreat, or was it 20 minutes enough? Or was 20 minutes enough? Okay, none of those worked. But what if I tried yoga? What if I kite surfed? What if I go car racing? What about cooking? Does that make me zen? You literally have to try all of those things until you find something that works for you. When it comes to when it comes to medicines for the mind, the placebo effect is 100% effective. The placebo effect is 100% effective. When it comes to your mind, you want to be positively inclined, not incredulous, incredulous in belief. Incredulous in belief. If it is fully internal, you should have a positive mindset. For example, I was reading Now, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which is a fantastic introduction to being present for people who are not religious. He shows you the single most important ant thing is to be present, and hammers it home over and over again until you get it. He wrote about this body energy exercise. You lie down and you feel the energy moving around your body. At that point, the old me would have put the book down and said, "Well, that's BS." And the new me said, "Well, if I believe it, maybe it'll work." I went into a positive mindset. I laid down and tried the meditation. You know what? I felt really good. How does someone build the skill of happiness? You can build good habits. Not drinking alcohol will keep your mood more stable. Not eating sugar will keep your mood more stable. Not going on Facebook, Snapchat, or Twitter will keep your mood more stable. Playing video games will make you happier in the short run. And I used to be an avid gamer, but in the long run, it can ruin your happiness. You're being fed dopamine, and having dopamine withdrawn from you in these little uncontrollable ways. Caffeine is another one where you trade long term for the short term. Essentially, you have to go through your life replacing your thoughtless bad habits with the good ones, making a commitment to be a happier person. At the end of the day, you're a combination of your habits and the people who you spend the most time with. When we're kids, we have very few habits. Over time, we learn things Over time, we learn the things we're not supposed to do. We become self-conscious. We start forming habits and routines. Many distinctions between people who get happier as they get older and the people who don't can't be explained by what habits they have developed are the habits that will increase your long-term happiness rather than your short-term happiness. Are you surrounding yourself with the people who are generally positive and upbeat people? Are those relationships low maintenance? Do you admire and respect but not envy them? There's the five chimps theory, where you can predict a chimp's behavior by the five chimps it hangs out with the most. I think that applies to humans as well. Maybe it's politically incorrect to say you should choose your friends very wisely, but you shouldn't choose them haphazardly based on who you live next to or who you happen to work with. The people who are the most happy and optimistic choose the right five chimps. The first rule of handling conflict is don't hang around with people constantly engaging in conflict. I'm not interested in anything unsustainable or even hard to sustain, including difficult relationships. If you can't see yourself working with if you can't see yourself working with that someone for life, don't work with them for a day. There's a friend of mine, a Persian guy named Bezad. He just loves life, and he has no time for anybody who's not happy. If you ask Bezad what's his secret, he'll just look up and say, "Stop asking why and start saying wow." The world is such an amazing place. As humans, we're used to taking everything for granted, like what you said. I are and like what you said I are doing now. We're sitting we're sitting indoors, wearing clothes, well fed, and communication with each other through space and time. We should be two monkeys sitting in the jungle right now, watching the sun go down, asking ourselves, when are we going to sleep? When we get something, we assume the world owes it to us. If you're present, you'll realize how many gifts and how much abundance there is around us all the time. That's all you really need to do. I'm here now and I have all these incredible things at my disposal. It's most important The most important trick to be happy is to realize how happiness is a skill you can develop and a choice you make. You choose to be happy and then you work at it. It's just like building muscles. It's just like losing weight. It's just like succeeding at your job. It's just like learning machines. You decide it's important to you. You prioritize it above everything else. You read everything in the on the topic. Happiness habits. I have a series of tricks I use to try to be happier in the moment. At first, they were silly and difficult and required a lot of attention, but now some of them have become second nature. By doing them religiously, I have managed to increase my happiness level quite a bit. The obvious one is meditation, insight meditation, working towards a specific purpose on it, which is to try and understand how my mind works. Just being very aware at the moment if I catch myself judging somebody. I can't stop myself and say, what's the positive interpretation of this? I used to get annoyed about things. Now I always look for the positive side of it. It used to take a rational effort. It now used to take me a few seconds for me to come up with a positive. Now I can do it sub-second. I try to get more sunlight on my skin. I look up and smile. Every time you catch yourself desiring something to say, is it so important to me? I'll be unhappy unless this goes my way. You're just going to find yourself you're just going to find with the vast majority of things it's not it's just not true. I think dropping caffeine made me happier. It makes me more of a stable person. I think working out every day made me happier. If you have peace of if you have peace of body, it's easier to have peace of mind. The more you judge, the more you separate yourself. You'll feel good for an instant because you feel good about yourself. Thinking you're better than someone, later you're going to feel lonely. Then you'll see negativity everywhere. The world just reflects on your own feelings back at you. Tell your friend you're a happy person, then you'll be forced to conform it. You'll have consistency bias. You have to live up to it. Your friends will expect you to be a happy person. Recover time and happiness by minimizing your use of these three smartphone apps: phone, calendar, and alarm clock. The, the more secrets you have, the less happy you're going to be. Caught in a funk? Use meditation, music, and exercise to reset your mood. Then choose a new path to commit emotional energy for the rest of the day. Hedonic adaptation is more powerful for man-made things, cars, houses, clothes, money, than for natural things, food, sex, exercise. No exceptions. All screen activities linked to less happiness. All non-screen activities linked to more happiness. A personal metric: how much of the day is spent doing things out of obligation rather than out of interest. It's the news' job to make you anxious and angry, but its underlying scientific, economic, education, and conflict trends are positive. Stay optimistic. Politics, academia, and social status are all zero-sum games. Positive-sum games create positive people. Increase serotonin in the brain without drugs. Sunlight, exercise, positive thinking, and tryptophan. Changing habits. Pick one thing, cultivate a desire, visualize it, plan a sustainable path, Identify needs, triggers, and substitutes. Tell your friend. Track mentally. Self-discipline is a bridge to a new self-image. Bake in the new self-image. It's who you are now. First, you know it, then you understand it, then you can explain it, then you can feel it. Finally, you are it. Find happiness in acceptance. In any situation in life, you always have three choices. You can change it, you can accept it, or you can leave it. If you want to change it, then it's a desire. It'll cause you suffering until you successfully change it. So don't pick too many of those. Pick one big desire in your life at any given time to give yourself purpose and motivation. Why not two? You'll be distracted. Even one is hard enough. Being peaceful comes from having your mind clear of thoughts, and a lot of clarity comes from being in the present moment. It's very hard to be in the present moment if you're thinking, I need to do this, I want that, this has got to change. You always have three options. You can change it, you can accept it, or you can leave it. What is not a good option is to sit around wishing you could change it, but not changing it, wishing you could leave it, but not leaving it, and not accepting it. That struggle or aversion is responsible for most of our misery. The phrase I probably use the most to myself in my head is just one word: accept. What does acceptance look like to you? It's to be okay whatever the outcome is. It's to be balanced and centered. It's to step back and to see the grander scheme of things. We don't always get what we want, but sometimes what is happening for what is happening is for the best. The sooner you can accept it as a reality, the sooner you can adapt to it. Achieving acceptance is very difficult. I have a couple of hacks I try, but I wouldn't say they're totally successful. One hack is stepping back and looking at previous bits of suffering I had in my life. I write them down. Last time you broke up with somebody, last time you had a business failure, last time you had a health issue, what happened? I can trace the growth and improvement that came from it years later. I have another hack I use for minor annoyance. Then they happen, a part of me will instantly react negatively. But I learned to mentally ask myself, what is the positive of this situation? Okay, I'll be late for the meeting, but what is the benefit to me? I get to relax and watch the birds for a moment. I'll also spend less time in that boring meeting. There's almost always some things positive. Even if you can't come up with something positive, you can say, well, the universe is going to teach me something now. Now I gotta listen and learn. To give you the simplest example, I was in an event, and afterwards someone flooded my inbox with a whole bunch of photos they took. There was a tiny instant judgment saying, "Come on, shouldn't you have just selected a few of the best? Who sends 100 photos?" But then immediately I asked myself, what is the positive? The positive is that I get to pick favorite, my 5 favorite photos. I get to use my judgment. Over the last years, by practicing this hack enough, I've managed to go from taking a couple of seconds to think of a response to now my brain doing it almost instantly. That's a habit you can train yourself to do. How do you learn to accept things you can't change? Fundamentally, it boils down to one big hack: embracing death. Death is the most important thing that is ever going to happen to you. When you look at your death and you acknowledge it, rather than running away from it, it'll bring a great meaning to your life. We spend so much time of our life trying to avoid death. So much of what we struggle for can be classified as a quest for immortality. If you're religious and believe there's an afterlife, then you'll be taken care of. If you're not religious, maybe have kids. If you're an artist, painter, or businessman, you want to leave a legacy behind. There's a hot tip. There's no legacy. There's nothing to leave. We're all going to be gone. Our children will be gone. Our works will be dust. Our civilizations will be dust. Our planet will be dust. Our solar system will be dust. The grand schemes of things. The universe has been around for 10 billion years. It'll be around for another 10 billion years. Your life is a firefly blink in the night. You're here for such a brief period of time. If you fully acknowledge the fertility of what you're doing, then I think it can bring great happiness and peace, because you realize this is a game. But it's a fun game. All that matters is you experience your reality as you go through life. Why not interpret it in the most positive possible way? Any moment where you're having a great time, when you're not really happy, you're not doing anyone any favors. It's not like your unhappiness makes them better off somehow. All you're doing is wasting this incredibly small and precious time you have on this earth. Keeping death on the forefront and not denying it is very important. Whenever I get caught up in my ego battles, I just think of entire civilizations that have come and gone. For example, take the Sumerians. I'm sure they were important people and did great things, but go ahead and name me a single Sumerian. Tell me anything interesting or important Sumerians did that lasted. Nothing. Maybe 10,000 years from now, or 100,000 years from now, people will say, "Oh yeah, Americans. I've heard of Americans." You're going to die one day, and none of this is going to matter. So enjoy yourself. Do something positive. Project some love. Make someone happy. Laugh a little bit. Appreciate the moment, and do your work. Saving yourself. Doctors won't make you wealthy. Doctors won't make you healthy. Nutritionists won't make you slim. Teachers won't make you smart. Girls won't make you calm. Mentors won't make you rich. Trainers won't make you fit. Ultimately, you have to take responsibility. Save yourself. Choosing to be yourself. A lot of what goes on today is what many of you are doing now. Beating yourself up and scribbling notes and saying, "I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do..." No, you don't need to do anything. All you should do is what you want to do. If you stop trying to figure out to do things the way other people want you to do them, you got to listen to the little voice inside your head that wants you to do a certain way. Then you gotta be you. I never met my greatest mentor. I wanted so much to be like him. But his message was the opposite. Be yourself. Be passionate intensely. No one in the world is going to beat you at being you. You're never going to be as good as being me as I am. You're never going to you're never going to be as good as being I am never going to be as good as being you as you are. Certainly, listen and absorb. Don't try to emulate. It's a fool's errand. Instead, each person is uniquely qualified at something. They have some specific knowledge, capability, and desire nobody else in the world does. Purely from the combinatories of human DNA and development. The combinatories of human DNA are experience are staggering. You will never meet any two humans who are suitable for each other. Your goal in life is to find the people, business, project, or art that needs you the most. There's something out there just for you. What you don't want to do is build checklists and decision frameworks built on what other people are doing. You're never going to be them. You'll never be good at being somebody else. To make an original contribution, you have to be irrationally obsessed with something. Choosing to care for yourself. My number one priority in life, above my happiness, above my family, above my work, is my own health. It starts with my physical health. Second, it's my mental health. Third, it's my spiritual health. Then it's my family health. Then it's my family's well-being. After that, I can go out and do whatever I need to do with the rest of the world. Nothing like a health problem can turn up in the contrast dial for the rest of life. What about the modern world steers us away from the way humans are meant to live? There are many things. There are a number on the physical side. We have diets we are not involved to eat. A correct diet should probably look closer to a paleo diet, mostly eating vegetables with a small amount of meat and berries. In terms of exercise, we're probably meant to play instead of running on a treadmill. We're probably involved to use all of our five senses equally, as opposed to favoring the visual cortex. In modern society, most of our inputs and communication are visual. We're not meant to walk in shoes. A lot of back and foot problems comes from shoes. We're not meant to have clothes to keep us warm all the time. We're meant to have some cold exposure. It kickstarts your immune system. We're, we're not evolved to live in a perfect, sterile, and clean environment. It leads to allergies and untrained immune system. This is known as the hygiene hypothesis. We're evolved to live in a much smaller tribes, to have more family around us. I part I I partly grew up in India, and in India everybody is your business. There's a cousin, an aunt, an uncle who's in your face, which makes it hard to be depressed because you're never alone. I'm not referring to people with chemical depression. I'm talking about existential ang- ang- angst and malice teenagers seems to go through. But on the other hand, you have no privacy, so you can't be free. There are trade-offs. We're not meant to check our phone every 5 minutes. The constant mood swings of getting a like, then an angry comment makes us into anxious creatures. We are evolved for scarcity, but live in abundance. There's a constant struggle to say no when your genes always want to say yes. Yes to sugar. Yes to stay in this relationship. Yes to alcohol. Yes to drugs. Yes, yes, yes. Our bodies don't know how to say no. When everyone is sick, we're no longer consider it a disease. Diet. Outside of math, physics, and chemistry, there isn't much settled science. We're still arguing over what the optimal diet is. Do you have an option for the ketogenic diet? It seems really difficult to follow, but it makes sense for the brain and the body to have backup mechanism. For example, in the ice ages, people evolved without many plants available. At the same time, we have been eating plants for thousands of years. I don't think plants are bad for you, but something closer to the paleo diet is probably correct. I think the interplay between sugar and fat is really interesting. Fat is what makes you satisfied. Fatty food make you feel full. The easiest way to feel full on a ketogenic energy ketogenic diet where you're eating tons of bacon all the time and you're going to feel almost nauseous and not want to look at fat anymore. Sugar makes you hungry. Sugar signals to your body there's this incredible food source in the environment we're not evolved for, so you rush out to get sugar. The problem is the sugar effects dominates the fat effect. You eat a fatty meal and you throw some sugar in. The sugar is going to deliver hunger, and the fat is going to deliver the calories. You're just going to binge. That's why all desserts are large combinations of fat and carbs together. In nature, it's very rare to find carbs and fat together. In nature, I find carbs and fat together in coconuts, in mangoes, maybe in bananas. But it's basically tropical fruits. The combination of sugar and fat together is really deadly. You've got to watch out for that in your diet. I'm not an expert, and the problem is diets and nutrition are like politics. Everybody thinks they're an expert. Their identity is wrapped up in it that's because what they've been eating or what they think they should be eating is obviously the correct answer. Everybody has a little religion. It's just really difficult to topic. It's just a really difficult topic to talk about. I will say in general, any sensible diet avoids the combination of sugar and fat together. Dietary fat drives satiety. 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 Dietary sugar drives hunger. The sugar effect dominates, controls your appetite accordingly. Most fit and healthy people focus more on what they eat and how much. Quality control is easier and leads to quantity control. Ironically, fasting from a low carb and or paleo base is easier than portion control. Once the body detects food, it overrides the brain. What I wonder about Wonder Bread is how it can stay soft at room temperature for months. If bacteria won't eat it, should you? It's been 5,000 years. We're still arguing over whether meat is poisonous or plants are poisonous. Ditch the extremists and any food invented in the last few hundred years. When it comes to medicine and nutrition, subtract before you add. My trainer sends me photos of his meals, and it reminds me we're all favor addicts. World's simplest diet. The more proceed the food, the less one should consume. Exercise. The harder the workout, the easier the day. What habit would you say most positively impacts your life? The daily morning workout. That has been a complete game changer. This made me feel healthier, younger. It's made me not go out late. It came from one simple thing, which is everybody says, I don't have time. Basically, whenever you throw any so-called good habit at somebody, they'll have an excuse for themselves. Usually the most common is, I don't have time. I don't have time is just another way of saying, it is not a priority. What you really have to do is say whether it is a priority or not. If something is your number one priority, then you will do it. It's just the way life works. If you're going to be if you've got a fuzzy blanket of 10 or 15 different priorities, you're going to end up getting none of them. What I did was decide my number one priority in life. Above my happiness, above my family, above work, it's my own health. It starts with my physical health, because physical health come in my number one priority. Then I could never say I don't have time. In the morning I work out, and however long it takes me is how long it takes. I do not start my day until I've worked out. I don't care if the world is imploding and melting down. It can wait another 30 minutes until I'm done working out. It's pretty much every day. There's a few days where I had to take a break because I'm traveling or I'm injured or sick or something. I can count the one hand the number of breaks I take every year. 1 month of consistent yoga and I feel 10 years younger. To stay flexible is to stay young. How you make a habit doesn't matter. Do something every day. It almost doesn't matter what you do. The people who are obsessing over whether to do weights training, tennis, pilates, the high intensity interval training method, the happy body, or whatever, they're missing the point. The important thing is to do something every day. It doesn't matter what it is. The best workout for you is one you're excited enough to do every day. Walking meetings. Brain works better. Exercise and sunlight. Shorter and less plenaries. More dialogue, less monologue. No slides. End easily by walking back. Like everything else in life, if you're willing to make a short-term sacrifice, you'll have the long-term benefit. My physical trainer, Jerzy Gregorek, is really wise, brilliant guy. He always says, easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life. Basically, if you're making the hard choices right now in what to eat, you're not eating all the junk food you want and making the hard choices to work out, so your life long term will be easy. You won't get sick. You won't be unhealthy. The same is true of values. The same is true of saving up for a rainy days. The same is true of how you approach your relationships. If you make the easy choices right now, your overall life will be a lot harder. Meditation plus mental strength. An emotion is our developed biology predicting the future impact of a current event. In modern settings, it's usually exaggerated or wrong. Why is meditation so powerful? Your breath is one of the few places where your atomic nervous system meets your voluntary nervous system. It's involuntary, but you can also control it. I think a lot of meditation practices put an emphasis on the breath because it's a gateway to your autonomic nervous system. There are many, many cases in the medical and spiritual literature of people controlling their bodies at levels that should be autonomous. Your mind is such a powerful thing. What's so unusual about your forebrain sending signals to your hindbrain and your hindbrain routing sources to your entire body? You can do it just by breathing. Relaxed breathing tells your body you're safe. Then your forebrain doesn't need as many resources as it normally does. Now the extra energy can be sent to your hindbrain. It can reroute these resources to the rest of your body. I'm not saying you can beat whatever illness you have just because you activated your hindbrain, but you're devoting most of the energy normally required to care about external environment to the immune system. I highly recommend listening to the Trim Ferricist podcast with Wim Hof. He is a walking miracle. Wim's nickname is the Jace Man. He holds the world record for the longest time spent in an ice bath and swimming in freezing cold water. I was very inspired by him, not only because he's capable of superhuman physical feats, but because he does it while being incredibly kind and happy, which is not easy to accomplish. He uh, advoc- advocates cold exposure because he believes people are too separate from their natural environment. We're consistently clothed, fed, and warm. Our bodies have lost touch with the cold. The cold is important because it can activate the immune system. So he advocates taking long ice baths. Being from the Indian subcontinent, I'm strongly against the idea of ice baths, but Wim inspired me to give cold showers a try, so I did. So using the Wim Hof breathing method, it it involves hyperventilating to get more oxygen into your blood, which rises your core temperature. Then you can go into the shower. The first few cold showers were hilarious because I'd slowly ease myself in, wincing the entire way. I started about 4 or 5 months ago. Now I turn on the shower on full blast, and as soon as I walk right in, I don't give myself any time to hesitate. As soon as I hear the voice in my head telling me how cold it's going to be, I know I have to walk in. I learnt a very important lesson from this. Most of our suffering comes from avoidance. Most of the suffering from a cold shower is the tiptoeing your way in. Once you're in, you're in. It's not suffering. It's just cold. Your body says it's cold. Your body says it's cold is different than your mind saying it's cold. Acknowledge your body saying it's cold. Look at it. Deal with it. Accept it, but don't mentally suffer over it. Taking a cold shower for 2 minutes isn't going to kill you. Having a cold shower helps you relearn the lessons every morning. Now hot showers are just one less thing I need out of life. Meditation is intermittent fasting for the mind. Too much sugar leads to a heavy body. Too many distractions leads to a heavy mind. Time spent undistracted and alone, and self-examination, journaling, meditation, resolves the unresolved and takes us for mentally fat to fit. Do you have currently mental practice? I think meditation practice. I think meditation is like dieting, where everyone is supposedly following a regimen. Everyone says they do it, but nobody actually does it. The real set of people who meditate on a regular basis, I've found out, are pretty rare. I've identified and tried at least 4 different forms of meditation. The one I found works best for me is called choiceless awareness, nor judgmental awareness. As you're going about your daily business, hopefully there's some nature, and you're not talking to anybody else. You practice learning to accept the moment you're in without making judgments. You don't think, oh, there's a homeless guy over there, better cross the street. or look at someone running by and say, he's out of shape, and I'm in better shape than him. I saw a guy with bad hair the other day. I would I would at first think, ha ha, he has a bad hair day. Well, why am I laughing at him to make me feel better about myself? I shouldn't. Why am I trying to make me feel better about my own hair? Because I'm losing my hair and I'm afraid it's going to go away. What I'm going to find is 90% of the thoughts I have are fear-based. The other 10% may be desire-based. You don't make any decisions. You don't judge anything. You just accept everything. If I do that for 10 or 15 minutes while walking around, I end up in a very peaceful, grateful state. Choiceless awareness works well for me. You could also do transcendental meditation, which is where you're using repetitive chanting to create a white noise in your head to bury your thoughts. Or you can just keep a nearly and very alert to be aware of your thoughts as they happen. As you watch your thoughts, you realize how many of them are fear-based. The moment you recognize a fear, without even trying it going away, after a while, your mind quiets. When your mind quiets, you stop taking everybody around you for granted. You start to notice the details. You think, wow, I live in such a beautiful place. It's so great that I have clothes and I can go to Starbucks and get a coffee anytime. Look at these people. Each one has a perfectly valid and complete life going on in their own heads. It pops us out of the story we're constantly telling ourselves. If you stop talking to yourself for even 10 minutes, you stop obsessing over your own story. You'll realize we are really far up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and life is pretty good. Life hack: when in bed, meditate. Either you will have a deep meditation or fall asleep. Victory either way. Another method I've learned is to just sit there and you close your eyes for at least 1 hour a day. You surrender to whatever happens. Don't make any effort whatsoever. You make no efforts for something, and you make no efforts against anything. If there are thoughts running through your head, you let the thoughts run. For your entire life, things have been happening to you. Some good, some bad, most of which you have proceeded and dissolved. But a few stuck with you. Over time, more and more stuck with you. And they almost become like these barnacles stuck to you. You lost your childhood sense of wonder and of being present and happy. You lost your inner happiness because you built up this personality of unresolved pain, errors, fears, and desires that glommed into you like a bunch of barnacles. How do you get those barnacles off you? What happens in meditation is you're sitting there and not resisting your mind. These things will start bubbling up. It's like a giant inbox of unanswered emails. Going back into your childhood, they will come out one by one. and you will be forced to deal with them. You will be forced to resolve them. Resolving them doesn't take any work. You just observe them. Now you're an adult with some distance, time, and space from previous events, and you can just resolve them. You can be much more objective about how you view them. Over time, you will resolve a lot of these deep-seated, unresolved things you have in your mind. Once they're resolved, there will come a day when you sit down and to meditate, and you'll hit a mental zero, inbox zero, when you open your mental email, and there are none. That's a pretty amazing feeling. It's the state of joy and bliss and peace. Once you have it, you don't want to give it up. If you can get a free hour of bliss every morning just by sitting and closing your eyes, that is worth its weight in gold. It will change your life. I recommend meditating 1 hour each morning because anything less is not enough time to really get deep into it. I would recommend, if you really want to try meditation, try 60 days for an hour a day, first thing in the morning. After about 60 days, you'll be tired of listening to your own mind. You will have resolved a lot of issues, or you have heard them enough to see through those fears and issues. Meditation isn't hard. You just have to, all you have to do is sit there and do nothing. Just sit down, close your eyes, and say, I'm just going to give myself a break for an hour. And this hour off from life. And this hour I'm not going to do anything. If thoughts come, I'm not going to fight them. I'm not going to embrace them. I'm not going to think harder about them. I'm not going to reject them. I'm just going to sit here for an hour with my eyes closed, and I'm going to do nothing. How hard is that? Why can't you do? Why can you not do anything for an hour? What's so hard about giving yourself an hour-long break? It's almost like you're talking to yourself, taking yourself out of certain frame, and you're watching things from a different perspective, even though you're in your own mind. Buddhists talk about awareness, Taoists, the ego. They're really about talking about how you can think of your brain, your soulness, and multi-rate mechanism. There's a core-based, kernel-level OS running. Then, there are applications running on top. I like to think of it as computer geek speak. I'm actually going back to my awareness level of OS, which is always stay calm, always peaceful, and generally happy, content. I'm trying to stay in awareness mode and not active the monkey mind, which is always worried, frightened, and anxious. It serves incredible purpose, but I try not to achieve the monkey mind until I need it. When I need it, I want to just focus on that. If I run it 24/7, I waste energy, and the monkey mind becomes me, and I'm more than a monkey mind. Another thing, spirituality. Religion, Buddhism, Buddhism or anything you follow will teach you over time, and you're more than just your mind. You're more than just your habits. You're more than just your preferences. You're a level of awareness. You're a body. Modern humans, we don't have enough in our bodies. We don't live long. We don't live enough in our awareness. We live too much in this internal monologue in our heads, all of which is just programmed into you by society and by environment when you were younger. You're basically a bunch of DNA that reacts to environmental effects when you are younger. You record the good and bad experiences, and you use them to re- rejudge everything thrown against you and predict the change and try and predict and change the future. When you get older, the sum of preferences you have accumulated is very, very large. These habitual reactions end up as a runway freight trains controlling your mood. We should control our own moods. Why don't we study how to control our moods? What a wasteful thing it would be if you say, right now, I would like to be on I would like to be in the curious state. And then you can genuinely get yourself into the curious state. Or I say I want to be in a mirroring state. I'm mirroring a loved one, and I want to grieve for them. I really want to feel that. I don't want to be distracted by a computer programming problem due tomorrow. The mind itself is a muscle. It can be trained and conditioned. It has been haphazardly conditioned by society to be out of your control. If you look at your mind with awareness and a for intent a 24/7 job you're working at the very moment, I think you can unpack your own mind, your emotions, thoughts, and reactions. Then you can start reconfiguring. You can start rewriting this program you want to what you want. Meditation is turning off society and listening to yourself. It only works when done for its own sake. Hiking is walking meditation. Journaling is writing meditation. Praying is gratitude meditation. Showering is accidental meditation. Sitting quietly is direct meditation. Choosing to grow yourself. I don't believe in specific goals. Scott Adam famously said, set up systems, not goals. Use your judgment to figure out what kinds of environments you can thrive in, and then create an environment around you so you're statistically likely to succeed. The current environment programs the brain, but the clever brain can choose its upcoming environment. I'm not going to be the most successful person on the planet, nor do I want to be. I just want to be the most successful version of myself while working the least hard possible. I want to live in a way, if my life played out 1,000 times, Naval is successful 999 times. He's not a billionaire, but he does pretty well each time. He may not have nailed life in every regard, but he sets up systems, so he's failed in very few places. Remember, I started as a poor kid in India, right? If I can make it, anybody can. In that sense, obviously, I had all my limbs, my mental functionalities, functionalities, and I did have an education. There are some prerequisites you can't get past. If you're reading this book, you're probably having the request site. Requisite means your disposal, which is a functioning body and a functioning mind. There is, if there's something you want to do later, do it now. There's no later. How do you how do you personally learn about new subjects? Mostly, I stay on the basics. Even when I learn physics or science, I stick to the basics. I read concepts for fun. I'm more likely to do something that has arithmetic in it than calculus. I won't be a great physicist at this point. Maybe in the next lifetime or my kid will do it, but it's too late for me. I have to stick to what I enjoy. Science is, to me, the study of truth. It is the only true discipline because it makes falsible predictions. It, it actually changes the world. Applied science becomes technology, and technology is what separates us from the animals and allows us to have things like cell phones, houses, cars, heat, and electricity. Science, to me, is the study of truth, and mathematics is the language of science and nature. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. To me, that is the most devotional thing I could do, to study the laws of universe. The same kick that someone might get out of being in Mecca or Medina and bowing to the Prophet. I get the same feeling of awe and small sense of self when I study science. For me, it's unparalleled, and I'd rather stay in the basics. This is this is the beauty of reading. Do you agree with the idea? If you read what everybody else is reading, are you going to think what everybody else is thinking? I think almost everything that people read these days is designed for social approval. I know people have read 100 re- regulated books on evolution, and they're never uh, and they've never read Darwin. Think of the number of microeconomists out there. I think most of them have read tons of treatises in economics, but haven't read any Adam Smith. At some level, you're doing it for social approval. You're doing it to fit in with the other monkeys. You're fitting in to get along with the herd. That's not where the returns are in life. The returns in life are being out of the herd. Social approval is inside the herd. If you want social approval, definitely go what? Definitely go read what the herd is reading. It takes a level of contrariism to say, nope, I'm just going to do my own thing, regardless of the social outcome. I will learn anything I think is interesting. Do you think there's some loss aversion there because once you diverge, you're not sure if you're diverging towards a position outcome or a negative outcome? Absolutely. I think that's why the smartest and the most successful people I know started out as losers. If you view yourself as a loser, as someone who has cast out by society and has no role in the normal society, then you will do your own thing and you're much more likely to find a winning path. It helps to start out by saying, I'm never going to be popular. I'm never going to be accepted. I'm already a loser. I'm not going to get what all the other kids have. I've just got to be happy being me. For self-improvement without self-discipline, update your self-image. Everyone's motivated at something. It just depends on the thing. Even the people that we say are unmotivated are suddenly really motivated when they're playing video games. I think motivation is relative, so you just have to find the things you're into. Grind and sweat, toil and bleed, face the abyss. It's all part of becoming an overnight success. If you had to if you had to pass down to your kids one or two principles, what would they be? Number 1, read. Read everything you can, not just the stuff that society tells you is good, or even the books I tell you to read. Just read for its own sake. Develop a love for it. Even if you have to read romance novels or paperback or comic books, there's no such thing as junk. Just read it all. Eventually, you'll guide yourself to the thing that you should and want to be reading. Related to the skill of reading are the skill of mathematics and persuasion. Both skills help you navigate through the real world. Have the skill of persuasion is important because if you can influence your fellow human beings, you can get a lot done. I think persuasion is an actual skill, so you can learn it, and it's not that hard to do so. Mathematics help in all the complex and difficult things in life. If you want to make money, if you want to do if you want to do science, if you want to understand game theory, or politics, or economics, or investments, or computers, all of these things have mathematics at the core. It's a fundamental language of nature. Nature speaks in mathematics. Mathematics is a reverse engineering the language of nature. And we only have scratched the surface. The good news is you don't have the good news is you don't have to know a lot of maths. You just have to know basic statistics, arithmetics, etc. You should know statistics and probability forwards and backwards and inside out. Choosing to free yourself. The hardest thing is not doing what you want, it's knowing what you want. Be aware there are no adults. Everyone makes it up as they go along. You have to find your own path, picking, choosing, and discarding yours as you see fit, figuring it out by yourself and do it. How have your values changed? When I was younger, I really, really valued freedom. Freedom was one of my core values. Ironically, it still is. It's probably one of my top 3 values, but it's now a different definition of freedom. My old definition was freedom too. Freedom to do anything I want. Freedom to do whatever I feel like, whenever I feel like. Now, the freedom I'm looking for is internal freedom. It's freedom from. Freedom from reaction, freedom from feeling angry, freedom from feeling sad, freedom from feeling forced to do things. I was looking for freedom from internally and externally, whereas before I was looking for freedom too. Advice to my younger self: be exactly who you are. Holding back means staying Holding back means staying in bad relationships and bad jobs for years instead of minutes. Freedom from expectations. I don't measure my effectiveness at all. I don't believe in self-measurement. I feel like this is a form of self-discipline and self-punishment and self-conflict. If you hurt other people because they have expectations of you, that's their problem. If they have an agreement with you, it's your problem. But if they have an expectation of you, that's completely their problem. It has nothing to do with you. They're going to have lots of expectations out of life. The sooner you can dash their expectations, the better. The courage isn't changing. The courage isn't charging into a machine gun nest. Courage is not caring what other people think. Anyone who has known me for a long time knows my defining characteristic is a combination of being very impatient and willful. I don't like to wait. I hate wasting time. I'm very famous for being rude at parties, events, dinners, where at the moment I figure out it's a waste of my time. I leave immediately. Value your time. It's all you have. It's more important than your money. It's more important than your friends. It's more important than anything. Your time is all you have. Do not waste your time. This doesn't mean you can't relax. As long as you're doing what you want, it's not a waste of time. But if but if you're not spending your time doing what you want, you're not earning and you're not learning. What the heck are you doing? Don't spend your time making other people happy. Other people being happy is their problem. It's not your problem. If you're happy, it makes other people happy. If you're happy, other people will ask you how you became happy, and they might learn from it. But you're not responsible for making other people happy. Freedom from anger. What is anger? Anger is a way to signal as strongly as you can to the other party you're capable of violence. Anger is a precursor to violence. Observe when you're angry. Anger is a loss of control over the situation. Anger is a contrast to make with yourself, to be in physical and mental and emotional turmoil until reality changes. Anger is its own punishment. An angry person trying to push your head below water is drowning at the same time. Freedom from uncontrolled thinking. A big habit I'm working on is trying to turn off my monkey mind. When we're children, we're pretty blank slates. We live very much in the moment. We essentially just react to our environment through our instincts. We live in what I would call the real world. Puberty is the one set of desire. The first time you really, really want to do something, and you start long-range planning. You start thinking a lot, building an identity and an ego to get what you want. If you walk down the streets and there are 1,000 people in the street, all 1,000 are talking to themselves in their head at any given point. They're constantly judging everything they see. If they're playing back movies of things that happened to them yesterday, They're living in fantasy worlds of what's going to happen tomorrow. They're just pulled out of the base reality. That can be good when you're doing long-range planning. It can be good when you solve problems. It's good for us as survival and replication machines. I think it's actually very bad for your happiness. To me, the mind should not be a servant and a tool, not a master. My monkey mind should not control me and drive me. I want to break the habit of uncontrolled thinking, which is hard. A busy mind accelerates the passage of subjective time. There's no end point to self-awareness and self-discovery. It's a lifelong process you hopefully keep getting better and better at. There is no one meaningful answer. There's no there's and no one is going to fully solve it unless you're one of those enlightened characters. Maybe some of us will get there, but I'm not likely to, given how involved I am at the rat race. The best case is I'm a rat who might be able to look up at the clouds once in a while. I think just because I think just being aware you're a rat in a race is about as far as most of us are going to get. The modern struggle. Lone individuals summoning inhuman willpower, fasting, meditating, and exercising, up against armies of scientists and statisticians, and weaponizing abundant food, screens, and medicine to junk food, clickbait news, infinite porn, endless games, and addictive drugs. Philosophy. The real truths are harness. They cannot be spoken, only discovered, whispered, and perhaps read. The meaning of life. A really unbounded big question. What is the meaning and purpose of life? That's a big question. Because it's a big question, I'll give you 3 answers. Answer 1. It's personal. You have to find your own meaning. Any piece of wisdom anybody else gives you, whether it's Buddha or me, it's going to sound like nonsense. Fundamentally, you have to find it for yourself. So the important part is not the answer. It's the question. You just have to sit there and dig with the question. It might take you years or decades when you find the answer you're happy with. It'll be fundamental to your life. Answer 2. There's no meaning to life. There's no purpose to life. Osho said, it's like writing on water or building houses of sand. The reality is, you've been dead for the history of universe. 10 billion years or more. You will be dead for the next 7 billion years or so, until the heat death of the universe. Anything you do will fade, it'll just disappear, just like human race will disappear, and the planet will disappear. Even the group who colonizes Mars will disappear. No one is going to remember you past a certain number of generations, whether you're an artist, poet, a conqueror, a pauper, or anyone else. There's no meaning. You have to create your own meaning, which is what it boils down to. You have to decide, is this a play I'm just watching? Is there a self-actualization dance I'm doing? Is there a specific thing I desire just for the heck of it? These are meanings you make up. There are no fundamental intrinsic purposeful meanings to the universe. If there was, then you would just ask the next question. You would say, why is that the meaning? It would be, as physicist Richard Feynman said, it would be turtles all the way down. The whys should be kept accumulating. There's no answer you could give that wouldn't have another why. I don't buy the everlasting afterlife answers because it's insane to me. With absolutely no evidence to believe, because how you live 70 years here on this planet, you're going to spend eternity, which is a very long time, in some afterlife. What kind of silly god judges for your eternity based on some small period of time here? I think after this life, it's very much like before you were born. Remember that? It's just going to be like that. Before you were born, you didn't care about anything or anyone, including your loved ones, including yourself, including humans, including whether we go to Mars or whether we stay on planet Earth, whether there's an AI or not. After that, after death, you just don't care either. Answer 3. The last answer I'll give you is a little more complicated. From what I've read in science, friends of mine have written books on this. I've stitched together some theories. Maybe there is a meaning to life, but it's not a very satisfying purpose. Basically, in physics, the arrow of time comes from entropy. The second law of thermodynamics states entropy only goes up, which means disorder in the universe only goes up, which means concentrated free energy only goes down. If you look at living things, humans, plants, civilizations, what have you, these systems are locally reversing entropy. Humans locally reverse entropy because we have action. In the process, we globally accelerate entropy until the heat death of universe. You could come up with some fanciful theory, which I like, that we're headed towards the heat death of the universe. In that death, there's no concentrated energy, and everything is at the same energy level. Therefore, we're all one thing. We're essentially indistinguishable. What we do as a living system accelerates getting to that state, the more complex system you create. Whether it's through computers, civilization, art, mathematics, or creating a family, you actually accelerate the heat death of universe. You're pushing us forwards this point where we end up as one thing. Rational Buddhism. The older the question, the older the answers. You've called your philosophy rational Buddhism. How does it differ from traditional Buddhism? What type of exploration did you go through? The rational part means I have reconciled with science and evolution. I have to reject all the pieces I can't verify for myself. For example, is meditation good for you? Yes. Is clearing your mind a good thing? Yes. Is there a base layer of awareness below your monkey mind? Yes. All these things are verified for myself. Some beliefs from Buddhism I believe and followed because, again, I've verified for reason with 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 thought experiments myself. What I will accept is things like there's a past life you're paying off the karma for. I haven't seen it. I don't remember any past lives. I don't have any memory. I just I just have to not believe that. When people say your third chakra is opening, etc., I don't know. That's just a fancy non-culture. I have not been able to verify or confirm any of that of my own. If I can't verify it on my own, or if I cannot get there through science, then it may be true. It may feel false, but it's not falsible, so I cannot feel it has a fundamental truth. On the other side, I do know evolution is true. I do know we are evolutional, ev- evolved as survival and replication machines. I do not know we have an ego. I do know we have an ego, so we get up off the ground and worms don't eat us, and we actually take action. Rational Buddhism, to me, means understanding the internal work Buddhism espouses to make yourself happier, better off, more present, and in control of your emotions, being a better human being. I don't describe to anything fanciful because it was written down in a book. I don't think I can levitate. I don't think meditation will give me superpowers and those kinds of things. Try everything. Test it for yourself. Be skeptical. Keep what's useful and discard what's not. I would say my philosophy falls down to this. On one pole is evolution and as a binding principle because it explains so much about humans. On the other is Buddhism, which is the oldest, most time-tested spiritual philosophy regarding the internal state of each of us. I think those are absolutely reconcilable. I actually want to write a blog post at some point about how you can map the tenets of Buddhism, especially the non-fanciful ones, directly to a virtual reality simulation. Everyone starts out innocent. Everyone is corrupted. Wisdom is the discarding of vices and returning to the virtue by way of knowledge. How do you define wisdom? Understanding the long-term consequences of your actions. If your wisdom could be imparted through the words alone, we'd all be done here. The present is all we have. There is actually nothing but this moment. No one has ever gone back in time, and no one has ever been able to successfully predict the future in any way that matters. Literally, the only thing that exists is the exact point where you are in space, at the exact time you happen to be there. Like all great profound truths, it's all paradoxes. Any 2 points are infinitely different. Any moment is perfectly unique. Each moment itself slips by so quickly you can't grab it. You're dying and being reborn at every moment. It's up to you whether to forget or remember that. Everything is more beautiful because we're doomed. You will never be lovelier than you are now, and we will never be here again. I don't even remember what I said 2 minutes ago. At best, the past is some fictional little memory tape in my head. As far as I'm concerned, my past is dead. It's gone. All death really means is that there are no more future moments. Inspirational ins- Inspiration is perishable. Act on it immediately.